All right, let's go through quickly how to build our phone stand. So for this case, I use the dimensions of my phone, which is 5.5 inches tall by 3.5 inches wide. So I'm choosing to make my stand 6.5 inches tall by 4 inches wide. So it's a little bit bigger than it needs to be in case I want to put a bigger phone on it. And so that I have an inch on the bottom, I can kind of raise it up off the ground to let it tilt back. And also the base piece that's going to kind of go out horizontally to the back that's going to lean back on. We said it's a good idea to make that a little bit less than half the size of the stand itself. So I'm going to make it 3 inches long, and I'm going to put 0.75 or 3/4 of an inch tabs on it that are going to come through, and that's what the phone is going to sit on. So let's start just by drawing a couple rectangles. I'm just going to click the little rectangle button over here, draw one out. Now this one has whatever I drew last in here happen to have these thick outlines. I don't want any outlines, so I'm going to use, remember, Control Shift F. That brings up the fill and stroke dialog box over here, and I'm going to turn off the stroke. Remember, stroke is just the outline, fancy name for outline. So I'm going to turn that off because I don't want that on any of my things until the very end when I'm going to put it in as 0.001 so I can cut with it. Now I have to go back in here, so my stroke is off, so hopefully all my other future ones will be off as well. I'm going to click on the first rectangle. This is going to be the stand part. So I want it to be, again, 6.5 inches tall by 4 inches wide. So I'll go up here to the top for the height, 6.5 inches. For the width, 4 inches. Again, make sure your units are in inches. If you're stuck on that, you can check out the video where I show you how to set up your document. But now you can do double check. Mine are in inches. I got the right dimensions. So there's my start piece for the stand. I'm going to make one more. Actually, let's make this a different color just so we can refer to it. So this is going to be my magenta one. I'll draw one more. And again, so mine is set so that whatever the last color scheme I picked was, that's what my new ones are. So hopefully yours is the same way. And then you'll know that there's no outline in this. If it's not, you can just go back and re-switch the outline. So just drew a second rectangle. This is going to be the one that represents the beginning part of the base. So this one's going to be 3 inches tall. And I want this to be the same width as my stand, so it's going to be 4 inches wide. And this is going to be a piece that sticks through it again. All right, so we're so far so good, not too bad. Let's go and let's see. Let's add our tabs first, and then we can go back and we can curve things off a little bit. So I'm going to look at, let's make this a different color, blue. At the blue part, the base part, I'm just going to freehand these tabs. I'm going to draw something just the size I think looks good. Make this a different color again. So I don't know, I think that looks kind of good for where I want to put my tab. So again, I'm going to start by just drawing that and putting it in a spot where I think it looks good. Then I'm going to go back and look at the numbers and kind of pick a nice clean number or a even number, not even like in 246, but like a nice number, not with a lot of decimal spaces, that's pretty close to what I want, just so it's easier to deal with. So if I look at this, it says it's 0.9 inches wide. It's 1 inch tall. I want it to be 0.75 inches long, so I'm going to change this to 0.75. 0.9 wide, I can go a little bit smaller. Let's go maybe 0.75 as well. So I like the way that looks. Now I could just copy this and move it over here, but I want to make sure it's in the exact right spot. So before I copy anything, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of figure out where I want to put it. And the trick we used here was we're going to draw another rectangle. Let's make this a different color. And I'm going to use this rectangle to kind of place the green one. The green one's, remember, the one I'm going to keep with, that's going to be my tab. This kind of gold color is going to help place it. I'm going to turn on the snaps over here. So again, you can, if you're unsure which one is which, you can just click them all and it should be fine. I'm just going to pick those. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit. If I drag this to the corner, it's going to jump and stick to the corner. And now I'm going to drag it kind of about where this one, oops, it's snapping into too much. Let's zoom in a little more. Can I drag it about, see, it's Amazon Snap has turned on too much. Let's get this out of there. Drag it about where I wanted it, so something around there. So you notice it did snap to the corner over there. And now I have a corner here, and that's about where I want to put this. I'm going to go and check my numbers. So it says it's 0.595 wide. Now, I'm just going to make it, I don't know. Let's make it 0.75. Why not? Make a nice, easy, clean number of 3/4. So that's what I'm going to do with this is I'm using this corner right here to help me place my tab. So now that I have this kind of gold thing here, I can drag this teal colored one and it should stick right to there. And now I'm going to move the gold color one to the other side. Click it there. I'm going to duplicate this teal thing. Control D, that's duplicate, remember? And I can move that over there and it'll jump to there. And so I have those two pieces right kind of where I want them to be, and they're the exact same distance from the edge because I used this gold colored one by snapping it in place to let me do that. Now I'm going to pull this away and take a look and see what it looks like. And that's fine. You know what? I might want to move this a little bit farther away from the middle, so I'm going to change this. So that's why it's nice doing it this way. I'm going to change the gold one to a half. Bring it back in, let it snap. Move this over to there. Bring it over to here. I like the way that looks better. I like them spread out a little bit more than they were before. And again, by using the gold one as my guide, I guarantee that I make sure that they're both in the exact same spot from each side. All right, so far so good. I got my tabs. I got that. I like the way it looks. Now I can start like curving things and cleaning things up. But before I do that, I want to make sure I want to transfer the position of these tabs to my gold piece over here. Now I can do that a couple ways. I could use, or not to the gold piece, to the magenta piece. I could use this little gold piece again to transfer them, but there's kind of, I'm going to use something like that, but I'm going to do it a little bit differently. So I'm going to use the gold piece to move them up. So I'm going to bring the gold piece over here. I'm going to make the gold piece an inch tall, because that's how far up I want my base to be. And I'm going to drag the gold piece all the way to the end over here. Maybe. Zoom in a little bit. There we go. So now this is like the spacer for where I want the bottom piece to be plugged in, or to be kind of stuck through. And now I'm going to bring this whole thing over here, the whole kind of base part, and bring it over here. And actually, let me hit. So I'm going to go to Object, Raise to Top, just so it's above everything else. Why isn't it above the gold thing? Let's see. Object, Raise to Top. There we go. And I'm going to bring it, I'm going to let it snap to the corner where that gold thing is. And the reason why that is useful to me is because now I can duplicate these two. So I clicked on the two tab parts, held down Shift and clicked on them. Control D duplicates. And now I'm just going to click on the three pieces of my base, the two teal pieces and the blue piece, and then move them back. But now the teal pieces are there because I duplicated them. And if we look at, they're in the exact spacing I need, the exact spacing of the tabs on the back part, or the kind of base part, those two pieces are, and they're going to represent my holes. Because I need the two holes in the front to be the exact same spacing as the tabs are, because the tabs are going to slide through them. So by doing it this way, because I copy them from this, they're guaranteed to be in the exact same spot. Now there is one difference. I'm going to select them. They're going to be shorter. So in our case, with the acrylic we're using, we want them to be let's say I think 106. So that's going to shrink them down to be the thickness of our material, so that when the two slots slide through, it'll be nice and tight. So there we got that in there. I don't need this piece anymore. That was just a way for me to kind of lay out how far up it was. So now we actually have a workable phone holder right now. This would work fine if I just printed this out and cut these things out. But, I mean, we don't want to be boring. We can be a little more exciting than that. So I'm going to kind of bring these a little bit closer just so I can see them on screen. I'm going to make these a little bit kind of prettier. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of round the edges off of them. So I'm going to double click on this, kind of pull it down a little bit, curve the edge there. Click on the blue one, do the same thing. Curve the edge a little bit, just to make it like a smoother corner instead of a sharp corner that's going to like poke you and cut yourself. Let's see what else. The second thing I want to do, I'm going to curve the edges of these too, or these as well, because I want when these go through, if they're really sharp, it's going to be a little bit harder to get them through the slots. But if I curve the edges of these a little bit, now I want to make sure these are the same, otherwise it'll look weird. So as I brought that down and curved it, I can see the radius of curvature, 0.139. I'm going to make it 0.1, just make it even. And that means when I go here, I can also make that radius 0.1. So I make sure that they're the same. You might notice though that, hey, there's a problem. These look kind of weird. There's these little kind of gaps cut out here. Well, we haven't merged these and blended these together yet, and I'm going to show you a little trick that lets you, we can take care of that when we blend them. Before we do that though, I'm going to add one more piece to this. I want to kind of remove some material and make this look like feet. So I'm going to kind of just draw a rectangle down here, maybe curve it a little bit more. Now, it doesn't really matter what size this is. I'm just kind of making it whatever I think looks good. Let's make it a width though that's something, make it 2. That seems reasonable to me. Again, I'm just placing it where I think it looks good. If you wanted to exactly place it somewhere, you could use the trick with the little block and snap it to it, but I'm just doing this freehand where I think it looks good. Now I do want it centered though, so I want to make sure that it's centered, so I'm going to hit Control-Shift-A, remember, that brings up the align dialog. I'm going to make sure that first selected is selected here where it says relative to. Make sure that is first selected, and then I'm going to click on the blue, hold down Shift and click on the gold piece, and I'm going to center them side to side. And that put the gold piece right dead center. And now I'm good to, let's see, I'm going to do one more of these. I'm going to actually just cheat a little bit and duplicate this. Drag it over here, make it a little bit thinner. So I'm going to do the same thing to this. Just to give it a little bit of space in case I want to run a wire. This is probably too short to run a wire. And again, remember, if you want to make one where you can run a wire through the bottom, you just make this distance here bigger, where it will fit your wire going down and through it. Actually, you know what? So I'm not going to run a wire. I'm just going to leave this off. We don't need that. Keep it like that. All right, so now I can start blending stuff. So I'm going to go back to the front piece. This one's easy. I'm not going to actually subtract these slots because, again, I might want to go back and change the size. Maybe I make it, I want to do it for a different type of material that's thicker or thinner. And I want to go back and change that so that if I subtract these right now, I can't go back and change it. But if I leave them there, I can go back and possibly change it. So I'm just going to keep them there, but I'm going to make them white for now. So that one is good. I do want to set it up so I can cut it. So remember on our machine, to make it cut, you use 0.001 as an outline, or as the outline. So I'm going to select all of those. Control-Shift-F, back to the fill dialog. It's already open. Go to stroke, turn the stroke back on. I don't want it that thick though. I want it to be, switch this to inches and then 0.001 inches. Now that is almost set up. Again, I'm going to get rid of the color when I'm done, but I'm keeping it there so we can see it. Now I'm going to go to the base piece. I'm going to subtract this gold one first. So I'll click on the blue, click on the gold, path difference. That removes it, kind of makes it into the two legs. Now I want to add these magenta, or kind of these teal pieces, but again, I don't want these little gaps right there. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to select them both using Shift and just drag them into here. So they're overlapping. And now that they're overlapping, this is going to actually, the gap is down on here, but they're going to be merged, so I don't really care. It's not going to see the gap. Now I'm going to select all three of them using Shift, Path Union, and they're merged together. And again, if I go and check, those are lined up nicely. If I can get it to, those are lined up nicely with a slide right into those holes when this is actually cut out and made. Now my last step, I guess I got three last steps. I'm going to go with this blue piece, 4 last steps. I'm going to make the stroke there, turn the stroke back on, make it 0.001 inches. So it'll be cut out, not have it on top. Oops, it's snapping. See, sometimes when snap is left on, it keeps sticking to things. I am going to then, if I want to put a logo on this, this is the point where I put a logo. So I could, for example, drop a logo. If you want to know how to do that, remember, look at the one about tracing images. But if you want to do that, you just bring an image in, trace it, and stick it wherever you want to on here. It's up to you. Whether you want to do it, I mean, you're making this, I would throw a logo on it. And then the last thing I want to do is just make the colors. I don't want them to be magenta and blue. Remember, even if I'm printing this on blue acrylic, I'm not printing it in blue. I'm printing it in white because I want whatever the color of my material is, I want that to stay. So I'm going to go click on these and turn them white. Now again, it looks like they disappeared, but if I zoom in, they're there. They just have really, really thin outlines. And that is it.